was a lot of news that dropped past, we could even say 12 hours maybe. 24,
I
12.
bet there's more than you were even going to reference.
I mean,
it's been a curious,
like
slice
EU
of time.
came out and they said what we kind of expected, Microsoft Phase 2. Although, reading through their complaints about, or potential complaints, I should say, or whatever, with this Activision thing, it feels really light. Like, it doesn't feel, at least...
Look, this is a lot of money. They have to do this.
Oh, yeah. That, of course.
There's no way they're not approving this. And we keep talking about the same thing over and over again. All Microsoft has to do is formally, in some legal document, say, we will never stop supporting this.
Yeah.
I will say this. The Activision Blizzard thing has resulted in a tsunami of hard data about Xbox that I find fascinating. The thing with the EU, they basically said, look, we lost the console wars to Sony.
Yeah.
We lost. Like, they just came out and said it,
Yeah. I mean, really, if they, to your point, and all of it was really, we're just afraid you're going to take it off of a PlayStation. That's it. And if Microsoft...
Oh, and by the way, we don't give a crap about anything else they make. Despite the
no,
fact
it's
that
just Call of Duty.
It's an incredible number of lucrative, franchises. No, this is the Call of Duty deal.
Call of Duty. Like, that's the
really
only
is.
thing.
It's crazy. Yeah. So
anyway, so that'll go to Phase 2. They have 90 days. That's the EU has 90 days to whatever. And I believe that pushes it to March, like 23rd or something like that. But it's March of 2023. We will get the final whatever.
Yeah. And that's conveniently exactly 3 months before the end of Microsoft's fiscal year. They did say it was going to go the duration. So there you go.
You know, it'd be hilarious. This would never happen because it would be complex and insane. But just imagine the EU, or more specifically, let's just say the UK. That might be more palatable. They come out and say, you know what, we're not going to approve this transaction. And they're like, fine, we just won't sell Call of Duty there.
Right.
Because they're both US companies. Now, granted, they do have presence in the UK. The EU would be harder, but you could imagine they'd be like, fine, we'll just pull all of our employees out, we'll pull everything out, and we just won't sell our stuff there.
Yeah. And you thought you had already seen the worst of Brexit, but no.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Like that would be the EU would be too tough because it's too big, but the UK they could.
Yeah, this has come up a lot in the past. People, and you're not doing this. I mean, you're right. The UK is one country. It's whatever number of customers. It's not, it's not one of the biggest markets in the world. So, but back in the day, Microsoft had problems with the EU over Windows and blah. And they were like, well, just stop selling Windows there. And it's like, guys, like, hold on a second. Or even things like Apple is, being forced by the EU to add USB-C to their devices. I mean, you realize we haven't even touched on the iceberg that is the number of things Apple could do about this, which includes such things, by the way, as putting USB-C only in the EU. Yeah. Right. Doing the thing I talked about, which is here's USB-C, but it's garbage. It's like a USB 2 connection. So congratulations for making us make the switch. There's all kinds of terrible things you can do to kind of work around this stuff. So, we'll see. I think I just keep saying the same thing. I think this is going to go through. So we'll see.
Yeah. Then this morning, Meta, whatever, Mark Zuckerberg announced they're cutting 11,000 people, which is just on the back end of like every company pretty much announcing cuts, it seems. Like Stripe, obviously Twitter's been Thanos over there. Right? Nice.
I think they have too many employees. Unfortunately, I think a lot of these big tech companies have too many employees. And it's not something I want to joke about, but I mean,
they're cutting 11,000 people.
But how many employees do they have? Right. This is only something like 13% of their workforce. It's not that that's not significant, but that kind of shows you the bloat that was going on there. And we're seeing a lot of apologies from these tech scions now, like Jack Dorsey's like, oh, it's my fault. I went too quick to make it bigger. I know it's ridiculous. No, me neither. But same thing with Mark Zuckerberg. It's like same thing. Like I pushed too hard, grow too fast. Push too many people into the metaverse, blah, 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 whatever. It's like, yeah, okay. We do blame you for everything. That's fine. But, now there are 11,000 people without jobs. So great.
Statista, I have no idea if this is a reliable source, says at so we're in 2022, but they said at 2021 they were in 71,000 employees, and I know they were hiring a lot. So there was somebody out there.
I saw this figure somewhere in a story. Like, yeah, I want to say it was 13%. It was something like that. But that's not.
But I think that only brings them back to like 2021, like head count or something.
Oh yeah. This is still right. This is the rationalization we use for everything these days. It'll be like, oh, the PC market sank X number of percent. Oh my God, it's falling into a pit. And it's like, no, hold on. It's still above pre-pandemic levels. Like it's like, oh, okay. It kind of makes you feel a little bit better about it. I think things were so good during the pandemic for big tech that the blinders just came off. This is. We sort of I talked about this a little bit with Amy Hood and Microsoft and Windows. Like, oh, we didn't know Windows mattered so much. Oh my God, we're going to repivot on Windows. It's like, whoa, hold on a second.
Yeah.
But you just betrayed a lack of sophistication and understanding of the market that you serve. And I feel like we're seeing that across big tech. This overhiring thing that not just Meta did, but I'm sure all these other companies, like, guys, you knew the pandemic was going to end, right? Like this lockdown, everyone's home has nothing to do. No one is apparently going to work except for everyone who works for you because you hired half the economy. That doesn't last, right? I mean, it's weird to me that these companies, which are just known for making so much money hand over fist, can be that dumb about it. It really is just a public comeuppance of sorts. It's weird.
Yeah. Here's this popped in my brain. I know it's not accurate, but would Windows 11 have happened on the pace and scale that it did if the pandemic didn't happen?
No. Well, you know what? It would have been a little more measured. I think the one thing that first I've been thinking about this a lot lately. It's funny you bring this up because, of course, when you complain about something, like I say, Windows 11 was rushed to market, and then a year went by, and this is all they added, and whatever it is, like you make all these complaints. The natural response to anything like that is to say, well, what would you have done, right? Or what could you do to make Windows 11 more interesting to customers, to make more people upgrade, whatever it is, like what would you do? And I think the sad reality for Windows is there's nothing you can do to make this universally better for everybody, right? There was a calculated decision with Windows 10 to keep this as one version of Windows for some huge amount of time, more than had really happened before. And that seems like a good thing for Microsoft for security updates and all that stuff. And it seems like a good thing for the industry, sort of, especially for customers. But then you forget, like, Microsoft's biggest partner is the PC makers, and that's really bad for them. Like, that didn't work out. Nope. So they made a completely opposite decision with Windows 11. We're going to be really hard-nosed about what the hardware requirements are. We're going to require people to upgrade to a new, computer to get this in most cases. And everyone said, nope. So you do the right thing for consumers before you do the right thing for PC makers. Now, no one's ever happy. And it doesn't, ultimately nothing changes, right? The mix of Windows 11 and Windows 10 is whatever it is, who cares? And you're fine if you use either one. At some point, Windows 10 does expire in 3 years or whatever, I think, or 2 years.
Yeah.
And then we move, and then life goes on. I mean, ultimately, it didn't
does life
matter.
go on though?
Well, that's the thing. Yeah, right.
Windows 10 is going to be hard for them to just say in the 2025. See you later, boys.
Yeah, well, we have precedent with the two previous best-selling versions of Windows, XP and 7. There was a extended service thing that happened, and you could imagine them doing that for enterprises. Absolutely. I will say this: it's hard to remember going from XP to Windows 7 what that experience was like. It's similarly hard to sort of picture, even though I've done it, going from Windows 7 to Windows 10. But whatever those experiences were like, I think we can all agree: more complex, more error-prone, more unreliable, whatever you want to call it. The process of going from Windows 10 to Windows 11, Microsoft couldn't have made this easier as far as just the technical element of you're blasting something new on your computer. It's just a cumulative update.
Yeah.
I know it changes the UI and, blah, 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 whatever.
Well,
but I mean, honestly,
the whole hardware thing, that's the hang up.
That's an artificial wrench in the in the system. That's something they did to help PC makers. Yep. We'll see if that changes. I think I just wrote about that. But Anyway, the point is they're still going to push back. But the reality is Microsoft can say, look, this is no different from going to a different version of Windows 10. It's just that easy. You do that all the time or on whatever schedule. We have now said you can do this, and you can take 3 years if you want, That's fine. Unless you don't have, right, like you said. Maybe that's the concession. If you're a managed business where you have a managed security system of some kind overreaching, maybe that's what makes it okay, right? That doesn't trip up the whole point behind that supposed point behind the Windows 11 hardware requirements. I mean, maybe as individuals you have to buy a new PC, and as a corporation with a managed environment, you don't. Maybe. And we have 2 years, 3 years, I guess.
Yeah, something like that. But the reality is the migration's got to start. You got to start planning that now, because you're probably somewhere around. Well, a lot of people bought hardware in the past 2. I don't know.
I know. I don't know. That's the thing. The one thing I would love to see, and I wanted to see this last year too, was the mix of PCs out in the world. Like, what does it look like? My guess would be in enterprises that the vast majority of Intel-based PCs that were deployed like a year ago, maybe even today, would have been 6th, 7th gen CPUs. That's my guess. Right over the line of what's supported, And I feel like they could easily support those machines. They could, it'd be better if you had TPM 1.2 at least, something. But as long as you're in a managed environment and you're overseeing the security of all those PCs in the managed environment, yeah, you can stick with your hardware and get to Windows 11. I think that would be an acceptable compromise.
We'll see.
Yeah.
We'll see.
Rather than pay us for 3 more years of the same thing over and over again,
Halo Infinite Winter Update is now available for that.
Yeah, so 2 years after they announced Halo, or we're originally going to release Halo Infinite, we have more of the features that were promised 2 years ago.
Yeah.
It's like Forge is still in beta, by the way. 2 new maps which were made in Forge. Okay, I would have assumed all maps were made in Forge, but okay. What is it? Network co-op, which I know the complaints about split screen co-op or whatever, but I mean, come on, really?
Who waited this long to play the campaign?
I know. I don't get it.
Yeah. I'm sure there's people out there who maybe want to go skull hunting or whatever it is.
So the one thing you can do is go back to levels you've previously played and go collect all the stuff you didn't get the first time through. Because I think a lot of people would blow through just to do it and then go through a second time slower and kind of try to find everything. Maybe.
.NET 7.
I've been struggling to find something exciting to write about this product. Maui has got a new version. Obviously, they all do. ASP.NET. There are new features in there for like Windows Forms and WPF, although I think these are all community-driven at this point. I don't know what to say about this thing. Every time a new .NET version comes out, it's like, it's low double-digit better performance. Here's some charts. And it's like, I don't even know if normal people even understand what it means to. I don't even know. I don't know.
Yeah. They have a fancy new website that's kind of neat, I guess, if you're into
there you
that
go.
sort of thing.
Probably built with, some other web technology.
It's probably built on WordPress.
Exactly.
Should we use ASP.NET for? No.
Yeah.
No.
What's Cold Fusion doing these days?
It's going to be hosted on Tumblr, and I'm just going to die inside.
No nudity.